In this video, we're going to look at the derivation of the quadratic formula. In 1, it says solve the equations 2x squared plus 5x plus 1 is equal to 0 and ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0 by completing steps a through f. In A, it says divide every term by the coefficient of x squared. So for 2x squared plus 5x plus 1 is equal to 0, if we divide everything by 2, we get x squared plus 5 halves x plus 1 half is equal to 0. And for ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, we're going to divide each term by a. So we get x squared plus b over a x plus c over a is equal to 0. And in b, they want us to format the equation, get the x terms on one side and the constant on the other. So in the first equation, we're going to subtract both sides by 1 half. And in the second equation, we're going to subtract both sides by c over a. So we have x squared plus 5 halves x is equal to negative 1 half. And we have x squared plus b over a x is equal to negative c over a. And now in C it says multiply the coefficient of the x term by 1 half and square it. So our coefficient of the x term in the first equation is 5 halves, and in the second equation it's b over a. So we're going to have 5 halves times 1 half squared, and 5 halves times 1 half is equal to 5 fourths. So we have 5 fourths squared, and 5 fourths squared is equal to 25 over 16. And here our coefficient in front of the x term is b over a. So we have b over a times 1 half, and we're going to square that. And this is equal to b over 2a squared, which is equal to b squared over 4a squared. And D, it says add the number or term from step 3 to both sides of the equation. So for the first equation, we're going to have x squared plus 5 halves x plus 25 over 16 is equal to negative 1 half plus 25 over 16. And in the second equation, we're going to have x squared plus b over a x plus b squared over 4a squared is equal to negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. And E, it wants us to factor the left-hand side and simplify the right-hand side. So we have x squared plus 5 halves x plus 25 over 16 is a perfect square trinomial, and we can write it as x plus 5 fourths squared. And I got the 5 fourths from the number that we got by multiplying the coefficient in front of the x term times 1 half. And this is equal to negative 1 half plus 25 over 16. 1 half can be written as 8 over 16. So we have 25 minus 8 is 17. So we have 17 over 16. In our second equation, we have x plus b over 2a. And again, I got that number from the coefficient in front of the x term multiplied times 1 half. And this is squared. And that's equal to, I have negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. And if we had a common denominator of 4a squared, we could rewrite negative c over a as negative 4ac divided by 4a squared plus b squared over 4a squared. And now I can write the right side of the equation as one fraction, so I'll have x plus b over 2a squared is equal to negative 4ac plus b squared over 4a squared. And now it wants us to solve using the square root property. So the first thing I'm going to do with the first equation is take the square root of both sides, and when I do, I get x plus 5/4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 17 over 16. And now we're going to subtract 5/4 from both sides, so I get x is equal to negative 5/4 plus or minus, and I can rewrite the square root of 17 over 16 as the square root of 17 over 4. And now because we have a common denominator, we can rewrite this one more time with one denominator. So we have x is equal to negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 17 divided by 4. In the equation on the right, the next step is to take the square root of both sides. So we have x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. And now we're going to subtract b over 2a from both sides. So I have x is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus, and now the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared can be rewritten as the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And now we have common denominators, so I'm going to rewrite this one more time as x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a, which is our quadratic formula. And that's all for this video on the derivation of the quadratic formula.